Arcadia Queenie had a peep over the right shoulder, and she's going to blow them away. Galaxy Star draws away from them. Pike Magician.
Welcome to Racing Rewind. Our panel will review the Prime Metropolitan meeting of the week. They will look for the horses to follow, those to forgive, and possibly those to forget. If you have an opinion, send a text to 0427 789 571. 0427 789 571.
Yes, that is the number to call, and drop us a text for Retrovision, 11 minutes past 8 o'clock, and Richie Bell and Lochie Taylor are in the studios. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Lochie.
Good morning, boys. Great to be back at Belmont Park yesterday afternoon, and it was a good opening meeting as well. Perhaps not the traditional Belmont Sprint opening day at Belmont Park, but the Provincial Series final taken out by camera action for Team Casey and Braden Garth. That was a great story and a great day for apprentice Braden Garth. Almost a treble. Was denied that in the last of the day by the barest of margins, but a great day in the saddle for Braden.
Did the stewards intervene with Braden?
Yes, for that win aboard camera action. So he's received a careless riding suspension, which is a big suspension because it's 7 days, and that means that there won't be an apprentice eligible to ride on a Saturday. So that suspension will begin after midnight next Saturday.
Yeah.
So he'll be riding next Saturday afternoon, and at this stage, that suspension will go for 7 days, and then I think he might have a week to go on his apprenticeship. But for the next couple of weeks, we'll be without a claiming apprentice.
I can't remember ever that happening. Jimmy had a bit to say about it the other morning as well.
Did he?
It's not a great situation.
I can't remember that. Can you?
No.
Well, you guys would have grown up in days where there would have been 10, 15 apprentices eligible on a Saturday, and it was you sink or you swim, wasn't it? You know, if you didn't ride winners, you didn't get the rides.
So, okay, the apprentices that are riding in the country aren't permitted to ride in the city at this stage, is that right?
Correct. So the three that are on the cusp of being allowed to ride on a Saturday are Amy Jo Hayes, who has one winner left, that being at Pinjarra or Northam, and I think Zephyr Johnson Porter and Chanel Cooper have about 5 rides each at Pinjarra or Northam. And it doesn't sound like a lot of rides, but for instance, this week, Amy Jo Hayes had 1 ride at Pinjarra, which was at 40-1. Zephyr Johnson Porter had 2 rides at Pinjarra. One of them won, which was great. And Chanel Cooper, I think, had 1 ride at Pinjarra.
Yeah.
So if you have 1 or 2 rides a week, that could potentially qualify you for being able to ride on a Saturday. Those 5 wins could take 15 weeks. Because they're not riding at 20%, those
It's too inflexible. I think there needs to be discretion, which was, I think, one of the points that Jimmy made.
Correct.
If you think they've got the ability to ride on the Saturday, which they do, clearly, then they should be.
Then fast-track them in.
Fast-track.
Gee, it's not a good position to be in, particularly when you have a look at other states at the moment. And let's talk about South Australia, as I often reference.
Yep.
And we are above them in the pecking order. There is no doubt about that. But I would guarantee they'd have 4 or 5 without even looking.
It's a big problem, but it just takes a small tweak, and the solution is there.
I'll go back and have a look at that. Okay, so how did the track play yesterday?
It played relatively on speed, in all honesty, Marty, but there were a few of those on-speed winners that were very favoured in the market.
Yep.
And if you're on speed in races without much speed, I speak of a horse like Western Power, he was really well backed in early markets all the way through. From Thursday morning to Saturday afternoon, no speed on paper, he went to the front, and Lucy Fury, well, she was never getting beat once she reached that position, but there still were horses later on in the day when it had that slight reversal, horses like Camera Action and Speed Dream in the last that were able to make up ground towards the middle of the track, which was good to see.
Okay, you mentioned it was a low-key start to the Belmont season. I think some nice horses were there, particularly the first 3 races. I thought the 3 winners are all going to win a lot more races, Rich.
For sure, Rich and Co. and Repossession had already shown that quality, winning the lead up to the Plastic Art as well. And Silent Diva looks a really smart little zippy sprinting type, storming home to win, which we'll talk about in a moment.
All right, we'll do it right now because race number 1 on the card there yesterday was the Bisley Workwear Plate, and it was over the 1,000 metres.
And so as they come to the 400 mark, and Garth had a firm hold of Capitola, now just gives it a little whistle up, and it moved away from them very quickly from Now You See Me buckled. Over on the inside, Arctic Snow, followed by Perfect Sister. Starting its run is Brave Wasp at the 200 mark. Capitola stoked up in front, led by 2. Now You See Me, he's shortening stride, the leader. Down the outside, Brave Wasp. Capitola stopping Brave Wasp, and now here's Silent Diva. Silent Diva picked them up in the twinkling of an eye. Silent Diva on debut beat Brave Wasp, the tiring Capitola. It really tiptoed to the post. Behind the mark.
Sorry, I'm just having a look at South Australia. I've counted 8 now. 9. Actually, 9. Zoe Lloyd is a new one, and I would just say that Emily Posman has come across from Victoria, so I'd get it at about 8 or 9 at a quick count.
Really interesting. But on the first, Silent Diva, really impressive debut win, was back in running, and she actually wasn't travelling well enough at the top of the straight to be put into the race because Brave Wasp and Sean McGrady, they whipped around her, and it looked like the race was all over for Silent Diva at that point. But to her credit, once she actually picked herself up, she found the line really nicely. It was a soft win in the end. Brave Wasp, I really feel like he's still a horse learning his craft, and perhaps he could have even just hit the front a little too soon for an inexperienced horse like him. But Silent Diva, on the contrary, she was very, very professional. She's shown that at her 2 trials prior to the debut run yesterday, and not an overly big 2-year-old filly either. So Grant Williams spoke post-race to me about the juggling act between, do you bank these wins while she's a smaller 2-year-old type, or do you give her a break now and allow her to furnish, and hopefully she comes back a little taller and a little bit stronger as a 3-year-old? Either way, nice filly with plenty of ability.
Yeah, both trials she really showed that zip over the final furlong of the trials. Bit of a daisy-cutting type of action. And I think Willie was favoured in the end by the fact that McGrady, who was last, had to start moving and go around the outside. And for that couple of 100 metres, while Brave Wasp was doing that work, getting around the outside, Willie was just able to sit there and really reserve the energy there on Silent Diva, and then able to pull around and have the last shot. So it was a really good win, a really good ride, and she's a nice filly. Brave Wasp did a good job. Actually met Capitola slightly worse at the weights for being beaten comfortably by Capitola, yet was able to turn it around. Capitola led, gave a sight, battled on pretty well. Arctic Snow wasn't too bad, just in behind them, got held up there on the inside, and I think could be looking for further for sure. And Tora Bora, I didn't think did too badly.
Wasn't the worst?
No, it got squeezed up a little bit, even though it finished second last. Should keep on improving. That's one from Lochie's yard.
It was the type of race where there were a lot of unlucky runners. Buckled was 3 deep the trip, and maybe not the worst place to be over the 1,000, but he was 3 deep the trip. The other horse I thought had every chance was Perfect Sister. She was perhaps the disappointment out of the race. I think it was just one run too many after the Caracatta for her. But horses like Tora Bora, as Rich said, even Berry Blast never got a crack at them. She went around at 90 to 1. Arctic Snow just started to build up along the inside, and then eventually she just ran out of room to go. So there are plenty of horses that look to be unlucky, and I think the evidence of that is the fact that Now You See Me, who's settled outside of Capitola, never really looked like he was travelling all that well up the straight. He's fell into 4th, and there were plenty of unlucky runners in behind him. So just be a little bit wary about that.
Okay, that interview with Grant that you had, he said she could go home and just eat everything up and be back. I got a feeling she'll be back at the races.
I agree. It was almost like Grant wanted to be the Grant Alana Williams of old, give the horse one run, tip them out. But when you have a ready-made professional 2-year-old like this, well, what if she doesn't come back, or what if she doesn't grow? You probably do need to
win them when they're there.
Correct.
By Alabama Express out of a street.
Stallion doing plenty of good things.
Oh, yeah. Brave Wasp, I think, goes for a little break now as well. Go to race number 2, the free entry to Belmont Park handicap. This is over the 1,000 metres.
Rose all Day is next of all, the roughie outside of Allentown, and then deeper out is Earth Storm, being followed then by Animalistic, and Pike looking for the shortest way home, working his way through horses with KTY. Art Session is the leader on the outside. Repossession, KTY getting up near the rail. Repossession has reached the lead though with 150 left to go from Art Session. KTY Allentown. Repossession boots clear, and Repossession on return comes away from them. Repossession beat Art Session. They were queuing up for third. KTY Allentown and Earth Storm.
Richie, I like this horse. Repossession. Sat in the breeze. Too good for him. Beats Art Session. KTY. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Repossession.
It's always had a lot of ability right from the trials. First trial, it absolutely scorched over 400 metres and then sat in behind its next trial. This is its first 2 trials ever, and ran home really strongly in that trial. And even in races, she's either been able to sit up on speed or sit just off them. One win, she ran home really strongly, cutting his way through the field, and didn't settle at her first run back last campaign before winning that Placid Prelude, which was a really good win, and then toughed it out pretty well in the Placid Art behind 3 pretty smart horses in Win the Line, London's Image and Golden Vale. Went for a spell and came back with a booming trial over the 400 metres, went around in 23.01, sizzled that day and has come through first up and raced on speed. And importantly, Lochie seemed to settle pretty well there outside the leader.
I agree. He just travelled really nicely throughout. And the key thing about this race is that it very much changed complexion with the scratching of Desert Whisper, because she is one of the fastest fillies we have in WA. And she can really take horses out of their comfort zone. We've seen 2 subsequent winners out of that race that looked disappointing on paper, but Desert Whisper, she can just really blow up the field. So the race changed complexion, and that meant that Art Session found the front, and as you said, Rich, Repossession just travelled beautifully, nice, relaxed for Brad Parnham outside the lead, and he looks to be a nice, big, strong type. 3-time winner at the 1,000, but Chris Gangemi said he has no issues about him getting 1,200 metres. At 1,200 metres, he probably just strolls to the top and really dictates and dominates from out in front. But reading between the lines, perhaps one more run at the 1,000 now before he stretches out to 1,200 metres, but clearly a really nice horse. Art Session, he's always shown above average ability. Back to a maiden, he'll be getting the job done at a very, very short quote. KTY, I thought he was very, very good in defeat. Lost no admirers for mine, had to get back in running, weave his way through the field. It was always going to be a tough task for him from barrier 8 of 8 in the end, but perhaps looking for 1,200 metres now, and I think he'll be bouncing back next up.
Yeah, Dan Pearce, by the way, gave Art Session a really good push when he spoke about the horses. Started a big price as well. And as Lochie said, once Desert Whisper came out, was able to get a really comfortable lead. This was a horse that was really unlucky that first start behind Playful Star, and then went to Geraldton and looked like it might be a good thing until the money came for Live Lucky that day. And Live Lucky ran past it really, really easily. It's a nice horse, Live Lucky, and it'd be good to see it returning based on what Art Session did there yesterday. Allentown just battled away. It was okay. Earthstorm probably did enough, pulling out wider on the corner and got just beaten over 2 lengths and would have needed that run. Animalistic never really came into it from the back.
Okay, text lines here from our good old mate Shaq from Boulder. I mentioned about who Boulder's beating that 86 grand final. It was Kangas, not Railways. Thank you, Shaq. And he's also said, don't the traders and trainers need to support the apprentices on the cusp more?
Potentially, but there probably for the last 12 to 18 months, there has been a real dominance, I'd say, of the top 5 jockeys in WA, and they have a real stranglehold on the winners when you look at the results. Obviously, Brad Parnham yesterday, case in point, rode a treble, and when Chris Parnham was riding, that was the case, alongside Willie Pike, Clint Johnson-Porter and Lucy Fury. It's not easy for these apprentices to break through at the midweek level.
Okay. repossession by Sessions. Now, from next week, Racing Rewind will be sponsored by Oakland Park. Of course, Stan Sessions, shooting to win, third in a Group 1 yesterday in the Doomben 10,000 and ingratiating. So great to have Oakland Park on board from next week, sponsoring Racing Rewind. On to race number 3, the Lawn Pride Australia Handicap. This was over the 1,000 metres.
Pushing up Regal Statue, hugs the rail from Keep It a Mystery. It comes to the outside to set after the leader, followed by Art of Sabraz, Sunny Honey, another strike and Sevenac. By the 300 they come. Rachenko goes out after Prospector's Pick. Over on the outside, Keep It a Mystery, but it's Rachenko. Rachenko gets the better of Prospector's Pick. Keep It a Mystery grinds away. Rachenko comes clear of them though, and Rachenko goes back to back. Rachenko beats Keep It a Mystery again. Sunny Honey finished hard down the outside to grab third from Prospectors.
Well, we said 3 good horses, or potentially and promising horses, won the first 3 races. Is the third of them, Richie, Rachenko for the Pierce brothers and Brad Parnham.
Yeah, it's a really nice horse, Rachenko, and it was bound to improve off that first up run where it beat Keep It a Mystery. Keep It a Mystery met it better at the weights. I thought maybe Keep It a Mystery was a chance of beating it yesterday, but the Pierce stable are just going really, really well at the moment. And they've got the improvement from that first up run and just really dominated this race and pulled clear. Keep It a Mystery was flat out chasing it up the straight, did a job, but couldn't get anywhere near it. Sunny Honey, this is set for a good campaign. We know it's a really good wet tracker and picks up a race every campaign and ran home really nicely. Prospector's Pig just went a little bit too hard, keenly out in front, and didn't have much left in the tank for that final 200 metres. But I think Prospector's Pick maybe, when it doesn't go out so hard or takes a sit just behind them, can certainly win a race on a Saturday. Regal Statute battled away, not much of Regal Statute, but plugged home fairly. Another stripe missed the start, ran home okay, and could improve a lot second up.
I agree in regards to your comments on Prospector's Pick, Rich. I just think he went too hard out in front. I like the fact that Willie Park actually allowed him to roll and didn't fight him too much, but in the end, I think the horse just had a mind of his own and he ran himself into the ground, Prospector's Pick. So Simon Miller and his team has some work to do with him, just teaching him to relax, because that first up win was very, very good when he was able to take a trail. But on the other side of the equation, Rachenko was super relaxed in running. This horse used to do what Prospector's Pick did. They reverse roles in some sense, but they've really worked hard on teaching him to relax, and keeping him at the 1,000 appears to be a really intelligent move. And from what I could understand, that will be the plan moving forward for this horse. Really nice win, dominant win, and that was only a 66 plus yesterday, but there's nothing really around or in this grade that could go with a horse like Rachenko, especially when you consider his racing pattern. Obviously, we spoke about a horse like KTY having plenty of ability, but when you have a horse like Rachenko up on top of the speed at the 1,000 at Belmont Park, he's always going to be very, very hard to run down.
Yeah, Regal Statute had actually beaten Rachenko over 1,200 metres going back a little while ago. Sat on it and ran over the top of it. Just shows you how far Rachenko has come, because it actually made it worse at the weights yesterday, and yet has beaten it very comfortably by 3.5 with every chance there for Regal Statute.
And I agree, Rich. Sunny Honey, great return at 50 to 1. He'll be a horse to follow for mine. As you've touched upon, great wet track record. So clearly there's been a sign of intent from David Harrison to have him up in work at Belmont Park, and hopefully when the rain comes in the coming months, he'll be a horse that we certainly need to be following.
Okay, on to race number 4, the Lawn Pride Australia Handicap. Sorry, we're on the Tab Touch. Have you got the Touch Handicap? And this was over the 2,100 metres.
Goes with Henchard at the top of the home straight. Duchy's Demerit now close to the rails, getting through. Followed further back then by Canellan's Legacy. Kegs later, Beautiful Baroque. But Bayara still has plenty to offer. Bayara sprints clear by the 200 mark by 2.5 Famous Dane. Duchy's Demerit. Henchard calling it a day. Dropped out abruptly. 100 from home. Bayara's clear. Still 2 lengths in front of Duchy's Demerit. Famous Dane. They're making no impression. That's a great front-running performance by Bayara. The former Geraldmere wins it here for the Taylor stable. Bayara beats Duchy's Demerit.
Oh, Jimmy looked nice and happy after this. Loch, good win to Bayahara. Tell you, he was all over at McGinnity on Thursday.
He was. I did hear that on Thursday afternoon, actually, as I drove home from the York races. He was very keen on her chances, and you can understand why, because she was fantastic last start. We spoke about that. Up to 2,100 metres in a race that just had absolutely no speed on paper. Perhaps Expelliarmus was the one that could have rolled forward, but he went straight back to last from that outside gate. So Lakhdar, really good initiative, found the front in the early stages of the race, and when you have a horse like Admired to her outside at 150 to 1, you're always on fairly good terms with yourself, because he was able to ramp things up at the 500 metre mark and really sprinted hard into the corner, and from there she was never going to be able to get run down.
Is this the reason there's only race 1 from Kalgoorlie tab touch fixed odds at the moment, McGinnity? Did he just go out and celebrate and forget there's a few others to put up?
I don't know.
Because the text line's going off. They're not happy.
I clearly wasn't a part of those celebrations because I'm here at work and those markets still aren't up.
The punters aren't happy, so we've got 3 texts here saying, what's happened to the rest of Kalgoorlie? Race 1, you said race 1's been up since...
Friday lunchtime.
Friday lunchtime.
Come
on.
So we're still waiting for the other 6 races. We don't even need to pay him now. He's got his money.
Those great colours, the blue and the yellow checks.
They are good colours, aren't they?
Yeah, the famous Taylor colours. Getting home with Bayahara. What a story this is coming from Geraldton. Like, was sort of pottering around there up in Geraldton, and it suddenly improved to win that race by such a space a few starts ago. And then last start was really good. We talked about it a lot on the show. Lochie, you really liked the run last start where it made really good ground from the back of the field. This is actually a horse who can freshen up and run really well over shorter. I think it did a 10-day freshen up at one stage at Geraldton, went 1,900 back to 1,601. It's won over 1,400 metres. I note, Lochie, there's a 66 plus 2,200 next week.
Trying to do my job now, Matt.
Yeah.
So put it back up next Saturday, 2,200?
Maybe.
Had the easiest run. It was an absolute picnic.
Well, there you go. He's talking me into it.
Stay in your lanes.
Dad will be listening. I don't know whether he listens to me or Rich. I'm not sure.
I've got to add something else here too with this horse. Eddie Riggs texted in. There's a half to Bayahara by Blue Point in the June sales. You better get around and have a look at it.
Well,
very nice type.
Well, there you go. But I think the knock on the win, if there was to be a knock, was that she got it very soft in front. But I think the positive about this horse moving forward is that, as we saw last start, she has a turner foot as well. So if there is a staying event that has a little bit of speed on paper, she is well and truly able to take a trail in behind them. Duchy's Demerit continued his good form. He hasn't won in a little while, over 700 days now, but he had every possible chance following her in the run. Famous Dane went around as the $1.70 favourite, and as the boys touched upon in the preview yesterday morning, they all thought that the $1.70 or the $2.20 that he was at the time was very, very short. And you just look at his record on paper, he's very much a horse that appreciates getting his toe into the ground. So that's something to keep an eye out for, because he could bounce back if the rain does come in the next few weeks, although it does look like it's going to be a very, very dry May.
Bit of rain forecast next Friday.
Okay, well, there you go.
If it arrives.
Beautiful Baroque. The grey ran pretty well. The horses sort of seem to come along the inside here and run into the money. Kegs later, the bubble burst a little bit there, got beaten 5 lengths, looked to have its chance. Henchard, now they did ask some questions after the race because it dropped right out. It was a disappointing run on paper, but didn't handle the backup, so it will be just having a couple of weeks before it races again. Canellan's, I think these horses at the back just found it very difficult to make any ground. So Canellan's Legacy, I think if it's in a race with a bit more speed on, it can definitely figure. Same for Audio Boy.
And eligible for easier, Kinellan's Legacy.
Exactly.
So beaten 5.8 lengths, that actually might read pretty well back to a Class 1.
Text line's not happy. No 600-metre times on Chris for the 2,100 metres. This is your department, Loch.
I don't know why.
Right. And there's no... I think I've got...
For race 3, there's no 600-metre times either.
And I think there's another one. There's no steward's vision for race 6. Is that right?
That is correct.
Oh.
So there's a few technical issues at Belmont Park.
You are listening to Racing Rewind on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Somewhere near the favourite. Back near the inside is Planet Cash. They're followed by Let's Deal. Bondi Plunge feeling the squeeze in the middle. Lover Session down on the rail, and Trio is starting to wind up right down the outside. Western Power nursed in front, now stoked up. 200 to go for Macchiato. Western Power's got Macchiato's measure. Trio is battling away over on the outside. It's still the favourite, Western Power, though, holding them all pretty comfortably in the run to the line. Western Power does it from go to woe. One from either Trio or Macchiato. Classic Rogue.
Peter's Investments, Western Power, Ifraj out of Western Jewel, and goes to the front, keeps on improving, gets the money, Rich.
Yeah, and we had Kira on earlier on, of course, winning the Perth Cup there with Western Jewel. And basically this result was pretty much a foregone conclusion once this horse found the front. Like, it's been sitting 3 wide a couple of times and fighting on in grand style. So against the rail in this sort of field, after a couple of 100 metres, it would have firmed into about $1.20, I'd say, and did the job very comfortably out in front. Macchiato continues to race well for Summer Dixon, is a nice type. He can get over further as well. Trio came from the back of the field and ran home gamely in its typical style, and unsuited by the fact that Western Power had such an easy run out in front, it had to come from the back. And Classic Road's getting closer, probably just half needed that run, and I think next start could be pretty hard to beat.
I agree, Rich. Western Power, nice win. Deserved a second win for the preparation because he's been doing that the hard way in a lot of his races, but a nice horse out in front. I think this is the best way to ride the horse, to be honest. Up to the mile, just leading and letting him roll along throughout. He can sustain a relatively high cruising speed, although in a similar sense to Behara in the previous race, you had a horse like Bondi Plunge to his outside, which certainly assisted him because she was a big query at the mile and in the end ran last. So Lucy was just able to create that separation with her and the rest of the field when she needed to, although Steve Parnham was right on top of that and made sure that Macchiato was put into the race a little earlier than perhaps usually expected, but that's just because of the fact that Western Power had it his own way out in front. So someone had to make a move. That was Macchiato. So he was a great run into second. And Trio, back second last in running, was never going to be well suited by the way that this race was run. But he continues to race very, very well. And note that he actually beat Western Power last start. So there's not much between them. But when Western Power can get it his own way out in front, I'm always going to be the person that is favouring the leader rather than the backmarker. And as Rich said, Classic Rogue building towards something this preparation, probably should have finished a little bit closer to Trio in the end, was just held up at a vital stage. But 1,200 up to the mile yesterday, I think with the benefit of that run, he'll just about be ready, and he'll probably face a similar field next start. He could be the one that goes around at that similar $11 quote that he went around at yesterday, and he could certainly, it wouldn't be a surprise if he caused an upset against a horse like Western Power or Trio.
And another one that can handle soft and heavy tracks like Sunny Honey, so they could end up winning on the same card, Sunny Honey and Classic Rogue. And Let's Deal usually finds form pretty quickly. Marty, one of your horses from the past, and he's a good staying
He was
type.
okay.
Yeah, he was good enough, and he could improve to run into the placings next start.
Okay, Jim at Pommy Pie, we found him. He's keen to get involved with Kalgoorlie as well. He's on a roll, picked up on Cool Archie, Calabas, how do you say that horse that won at Stone?
Bjorn Baker, he declared that actually on an interview.
$1 million yearling.
He's also back, while he was flying to Melbourne, he backed Repossession, Richenko, Behara, Camera Action and Speed Dream.
Jeez.
He's had a fair day.
It's on the plane.
Yeah. Just doing his best work.
Wi-Fi.
Race 6, Ascent Trophies handicap. It was over the 1,200 metres.
Bring them for the judge. They'd straightened up, lost gravity, a length and a half to catch Carter. American Escape down on the inside for Fiore, looking to push through. And then on the outside, Sky Duke, followed by First Beach. It's lost gravity, though, at the 200 mark. On the outside, coming at it is Sky Duke. Sky Duke reaches the lead. No run, American Escape, tucked up hard against the rail. Sky Duke boots away. Sky Duke gets clear now and wins from lost gravity. And Close Talker coming late with Catch Carter in the middle. Sky Duke wins it it by about a length. It's a tight go between Catch Carter, Close Talker, and on the rails, Lost Gravity, American Escape, got jammed up.
Okay, yeah, it was Sky Duke, Close Talker, Catch Carter and Lost Gravity here, Loch.
All right, we'll touch upon Sky Duke first and then dissect this race because there's been plenty said about this race on the text line. Sky Duke, fantastic ride from Braden Garth. Good initiative showed in the early stages of the race because Lost Gravity and Catch Carter, they were really rolling along in the early stages of the race, and Braden drew a sticky gate, 7 of 9, and just went bang, 1 out, 1 back, pushed American Escape, the favourite, into the box seat, and from there, that was clearly the difference between winning and losing for Sky Duke. Travelled super into the corner, let down really, really nicely. A horse that we usually associate with leading, kicking and grinding to the line, but he actually showed a really nice turn of foot yesterday. We're about to touch upon the unlucky runners, but Sky Duke, he deserved a second win for his preparation, and he's the type of horse that Neville Parnham has trained for so many years now, and he just continues to keep them up in work for a long period of time. They rarely run a bad race, and I can see this horse just continuing on an already long campaign, and he'll just keep earning for Neville and connections.
He's got to be one of the most consistent horses over 3 seasons now that we've seen in the last 10 years. Like, you go back to, I'm going back now having a look at his 22 runs and just
when he won that trial, didn't he win a trial by 10 lengths?
Yeah, and then one day he ran a brilliant race with Goddess of Giving, just beat him, and he worked hard outside the leader and rev it up, ran third. And all through his card, he's had some really good runs. He then sort of looked like he was sort of, I don't know, not weakening, but he was running over 1,000 metres and doing okay, but not like he's doing now. This campaign has been really, really good, and he's getting a really strong 1,200 metres. As Lochie said, he's able to sit and then show that turn of foot, which he showed yesterday. So I wouldn't be surprised if he actually ends up picking up a handy race over 1,000 or 1,200 metres sometime down the track, because he seems to be getting stronger each campaign. Close Talker did a really good job from the back of the field. This is one of my horses to follow over the meeting yesterday. Yep. He clearly ran the fastest last 600. Had to do it from the back, take the medicine from the wide draw. I think if it draws a gate, it can race really close to the speed, ride over the speed, and be very hard to beat. Catch Carter ran its race in patches, battled hard in the end to finish third. Strange. Yeah, and American Escape, no clear run any stage. Not much Lucy could have done there. And I think you got a text there, Marty.
Yeah.
American
Punter's
Escape.
saying he was heavily invested and don't believe Lucy tried to pull out American Escape at all. And this is the same gentleman who said about no head-on vision for race number 6. So you can clear this up for us, Loch.
Yeah, so there's no head-on or steward's vision when you go to race 6 from yesterday's meeting. But if you actually go to YouTube and look up Racing WA replays and skip to 2 minutes 29 on the replay, it'll actually show the head-on replay for race 6 on the YouTube yesterday. So you go back and look at that, and I don't think Lucy was at fault there. If you're being hyper critical of the ride, perhaps when Catch Carter at around the 500 metre mark was just getting niggled at and not travelling all that well into the corner, perhaps she bounces Lakdara Moli at that very point. But as I said, I don't even agree with that view. That would be a hypercritical stand on the ride. For mine, she was just a victim of circumstances, an unlucky horse yesterday afternoon, and hopefully she bounces back next start, American Escape, because they had an absolute mountain of money on her yesterday, one of the best back runners all day, and it just wasn't to be.
Yeah.
I think some punters get deceived. They watch it for the first time and then maybe don't watch it again, don't watch the head-on, because with Lucy, she sits so coolly and calmly and she waits. But when that run comes and she only needs a little sniff on it, she suddenly gets animated. Yeah. So therefore, punters look at it and think, oh, she's just sitting there.
Yeah, but what's she doing? Not a lot.
There's no run there.
Yeah. Got to say, her riding at Albany on Friday, she was just classy with a capital C. She rode a treble, won the last couple, might have won the last 3, but she was riding sensationally. As you said,
Superb,
Rich, patience. A couple of times there,
That's
she
right.
just let this all unfold and then I'll get going.
Well, that one race you talked about, I heard you when I was driving into GP, that she was happy to just get back to third last, and just pinch ground really quickly from the 400-metre mark.
Race number 7, the Tap Touch Westbeat Platinum Autumn Series Heat number 3.
Straightening up Royal Gap also right off the course. Major Mario, Storm Commander in the middle. Zach loves to fly. Why me? As they balance up now, they've got 350 to go. Cheryl Shout sneaks clear, but this has allowed the favourite to come away from the fence. Bohemian Diamond, and at the 200 shortly after hits the lead, but Parnham goes for the Persuader. Bohemian Diamond now breaks clear. Hits Overdrive 100 from home, beats off Cheryl Shout. Royal Gap gets through, but the fave wins first up. Bohemian Diamond in a resounding win first up, beats Royal Gap and Cheryl Shout. Behind them, Hammermill.
Okay, what did you make of this turn to racing by Bohemian Diamond, Rich?
Superb. Now, talking about horses that might be able to pick up a really good race in the future, I think this is one, Bohemian Diamond. It's a classy customer. Its trial was enormous back a couple of weeks ago when Tiana Murray rode in the trial. She's dominated that, and it looks set for a first-up victory. Tuned up really to the mark here. First up by the Morton camp, and Brad Parnham rode the perfect race. But an example of Belmont Park, when a leader kicks away, it looks easy. Like Brad just had all the room in the world there, whereas with Lucy's race, American Escape, the leader didn't kick away. What a difference. And Bohemian Diamond just sliding through there. But this horse has shown so much right from the word go. And it won one day at Belmont Park in magnificent style, where it won by 3 lengths and beat a couple of very handy horses on that occasion. So it was no surprise to see it dominate this race. Royal Gap ran home really well, carving its way through near the inside. This is another race where you wanted to be nearer the inside as opposed to coming down the middle. The horses that came down the middle there really couldn't pick up the ground. Cheryl Shout ran home well. Previous start just got a little bit keen for the Apprentice in between runners, whereas yesterday it was able to lead on its own terms, which is a different story for Cheryl Shout, and it did the job well. Hammermill plugged away gamely, so did Ocean Goddess. Major Mario was wider, just battled away. Why Me probably did enough first up, although it got beaten 7 lengths.
Really like this win, Bohemian Diamond, in a similar sense to a few of our winners earlier on in the program. She just had every possible chance, but what I did like about the win is that it was an arrogant win. 2 lengths almost in the end ahead of Royal Gap, and it could have very easily been a 2 or 3 length margin in the concluding stages because she was idled down towards the finish line. Really nice win. This was obviously Heat 3. The final is in a couple of weeks over 1,400 metres, where she's placed at the moment, first up at 13, second up at 1,400 metres. She'll go around as the favourite in that race, and yes, she had every chance, courtesy of a great barrier yesterday, but she looked like she could show a really nice turn of foot. So sitting in the second half of the field, 3 deep with cover, chiming down the middle of the Belmont Park track. I don't think that type of race shape or race setup would be beyond her. So I think she'd be very hard to beat in that final in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, she's already won on the soft 5. That was when she absolutely destroyed a couple of nice horses in Centre Bond and Sonatea going back to September of last year.
By Machino, and good luck to Buck Rogers and the team there with Bohemian Diamond. On to race number 8, the Racing WA Provincial Championship Series final over the 1,400.
Behind those like no other as they approach the turn. Pro is here, look to be struggling. Then Secret Attire, Treble Maker gets into the clear to come after them. Now the Goldfields mare balancing up. They go by the 300. Psycho Sister looks have come together. Top of the pops down the outside. Here comes Secret Attire. Treble Maker's gone. It's a shot duck. The favourite Camera Action's running on strongly, and back behind those Platinum Shot with 100 left to go. Camera Action on the outside dashes to the lead. Races past Secret Attire. Snazzler runs on late, but Camera Action won the Provincial final. Camera Action from Snazzler, Secret Attire. Then Platinum Shot.
By shooting to win, they can produce a good horse. Camera Action, always been a fan of this horse.
Yeah.
Loch and Rich, and well placed. This was a good move, wasn't it, getting into this Provincial Championship final?
Yeah, it wasn't a horse I expected to end up in the Provincial Championship final after winning that race at Ascot on the 26th of April. Then sneaky move down to Northam, ran well enough there over the 1,300 metres. And it makes Manhattan Strip look really, really good because Camera Action had its chance that day as it loomed up out wide, and Manhattan Strip just powered away over the final stages. So I look forward to seeing Manhattan Strip next start based on what Camera Action did over the 1,400. I actually had a slight concern at the 1,400 metres on Camera Action maybe peaking on the run late, but just swept the victory down the outside. Was very wide, Lochie, on the turn. It must have been about 11 or 12 deep.
It was a massive win. She came from a mile off them. Braden Garth followed Snazzler and Jared Noski into the corner. And as you said, the run that she had to make, she was off the track. She was nearly in the car park, but really, really big win, and a win of a horse that actually looked like she might get a little bit further now. I think reading between the lines, there's still an element of reservation as to whether they stretch her out to the mile straight away or just keep her at 1,400 metres, but she went around as the $1.90 favourite last start, only 7 days ago now, at Northam. Perhaps a tiny bit disappointing considering the fact that she went around as a $1.90 favourite, but she won like a really good thing yesterday, which was great to see. Snazzler, he was an improved run with the blinkers going on. He ran around at a big price and ran very nicely. Secret Attire into third, ran very, very well. Back to Kalgoorlie next start. She'll be awfully, awfully hard to beat. Platinum Shot continues to race well, and the disappointment out of the race, clearly treble maker. $5 into $2.45 from Wednesday afternoon to Saturday afternoon, and ran second last, beaten 8 lengths, and has pulled up lame in the right hind. So obvious and clear excuses for our favourite yesterday.
Yeah, a couple of horses did get squeezed up there at about the furlong mark, and one of them was the old fellow Uncle Gerard, always finding a little bit of trouble, always running on, and again found the line pretty well after he got into that bother at the 200-metre mark. One that didn't make the Stewards report, which was really surprising, was Defiant Diorite, which was going through nearer the inside and should have finished a lot closer. It got badly held up for a run over that final 250 metres.
Psycho Sister, what was the story there? It was well backed.
Yeah, led up. Yeah, Luke sat outside of it, was able to run past it, so it didn't look to be too many excuses.
Perhaps the 1,400 metres might just stretch her a fraction, especially from that wide alley. She has won her maiden over 1,300 metres, but maybe back to 13 at Northam or 1,200 at Belmont Park, she might be better suited, especially if they ride her in the manner in which she was ridden yesterday.
Last of the day, the Kit Logistics Handicap.
The centre from Not Secret, followed further back by Ton of Grunt. Forever Boy well back in the field. They balance up, going to the 300. Dug another hole. The leader, Blue Rocket, away from the inside, though. Coming out after it from Madame Magic, followed by Correct Choice at the 175. Blue Rocket gets on equal terms now with Dug another hole. Here comes Mosquito. Mosquito through in the middle. Madame Magic, Correct Choice as well, starting to finish brilliantly. Down the outside, Speed Dream. Speed Dream, Correct Choice. It might be Speed Dream. Maybe Speed Dream in a head bobber. Speed Dreams come from the clouds down the outside with Correct.
Well, Rich, there was a good spruik about Speed Dream and I got the money.
Yeah, a few people were tipping it and came out of some harder races recently and looked a little bit easier yesterday. And Jared Noski jumped on. What a ride it was too. Magnificent exhibition there from Jared. Weaving his way through the field, getting into the clear and absolutely charging. It was probably looking the winner from about the 200-metre mark, even though some other horses were starting to get home pretty well as well, but it just looked to be building up the revs. Correct Choice came through in the middle, battled on really hard, and it's racing very, very consistently. Dug another hole's been terrific this campaign. Just, you know what you get. On speed, fights on gamely. Madame Magic ran well again, having its chance there. Mosquitoes racing well, came through in the middle. Ton of Grunt showed some improvement off that poor run first up. Blue Rocket, I think 1,400 is a little bit of a query for this little horse, and I think back to 1,200 metres next start, Lochie, it could improve a lot. And the horse that maybe should have won the race was Forever Boy, which got horribly, horribly held up there, and again, didn't make the Stewards report.
First up, Forever Boy as well, off a very long layoff. So
Could be one to follow.
Clearly going well, has returned in good order. Speed Dream, great win back at Belmont Park. We've always seen the best of him, and he let down with a really nice turn of foot. I'm just watching this Forever Point replay again.
Incredible.
It was massive. It's definitely a horse to follow, but I won't steal your thunder there.
Okay, we'll go to horses to follow, but get your bets on, punters. All the markets are up.
The markets are up for Kalgoorlie. Better way.
Better way. Get them on from races 1 to 7. They are there for the taking. Righto, what about we find some horses to follow? If I could just find where the button is to push it. There we go.
On Racing Rewind, it is time for the boys to look back and determine who are the black bookers, the ones to be on next start, the horses to follow.
Yes, you like that, Loch. Come on.
All
Hit
right.
me with it.
4 for me. KTY,
4.
he'll bounce back next start.
KTY, right.
Sunny Honey at a price. Just keep following him throughout the winter. American Escape, although I'm a little bit worried she could be overbet next start because she was unlucky yesterday, so just be wary of that. And Close Talker, huge run from last.
You know any close talkers, Rich?
I do.
Those ones that get really close to you when they're talking to you?
Yeah, there's a few of the races, people I don't even know.
Well, that's what happens when you're a celebrity, Rich. People want to speak to you.
That's why I pretty much don't go to the races.
The close talkers get you.
The close talkers. It is amazing how many there are at race courses as opposed to other venues. Anyway.
Like art galleries and the beach.
Yeah, art galleries, they give you plenty of space. Plenty of space. Now, what's I going to say?
They give you a bit of space.
Depending on where you are. If you're close to the water, yes, but if you're in the sand dunes, no.
We've got a minute for your horses to follow, Richie.
I would say, I've got a tangential one here. I'm going with Manhattan Strip. Didn't even race yesterday.
That's
that's off the win. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, yep. I see your logic. Yeah.
Yeah, Manhattan Strip for me.
Yes.
And Sunny Honey, if it gets a wet track, definitely. Mm-hmm. Just working through these races. Classic Rogues, ready to win, I think. Macchiato will go close next start. And Close Talk is the big one. I think if it draws a gate and races close to the speed, it will be winning. Okay, I hope you've written all of those down. Fixed odds are up. Bet up into Tab Touch for this KBRC meeting, and good luck to them. Thanks for coming in, gentlemen.
Terrific. Thanks,
Thanks
Marty.
to Sophie Stone. Leah Ernest will be taking you through the morning into the afternoon. Again, apologies for not being able to get Steve and Michael to wear, but that's the way it goes. Have a great Sunday. This weather is absolutely beautiful. Get out and enjoy it.